This is one of the longest periods that we have gone without zombies, and so much is riding on 2024 to the point that if it is not even to the minimum bar that Cold War has set, I will be quitting Call of Duty Zombies for good. And I believe a lot of the zombie YouTubers also will be joining me because
I had lost faith in Treyarch entirely.
This has got Treyarch's name on it, and I cannot understand how, why, what, where, and when the decision was made to move forward with this.
Treyarch fundamentally no longer understood what it meant to be a Zombies fan, and more specifically, why people like myself had kept playing the game for so many years.
Call of Duty Zombies by Treyarch is a round-based survival mode where you try and go further and further and further.
This could legitimately be the death of round-based. I've said this before on Twitter. Developers like Kevin Drew have even said, no, round-based will never die, but look at the climate that we're in, ladies and gentlemen. Modern Warfare 3, what is it coming out with? Outbreak, but no round-based.
Zombies with Black Ops 3 was skyrocketing so high and doing so well, it fell and it never returned to where it was at.
The devs lost all sense of what was good about zombies. At every turn in those maps, you are confronted with things that go fundamentally against the entire ethos of what was fun in the past. And the reason I would ever make a video saying like, this sucks, is because I want it to get better.
Call of Duty Zombies is my favorite game ever made, and it's dying. Through corporate interference and a disregard for the DNA that made the game special in the first place, Treyarch's Call of Duty Zombies is on life support after a string of increasingly lackluster releases. The iconic co-op game mode has been enjoyed by millions of players for over 15 years, but is rapidly losing the loyalty of its fanbase by completely gutting and changing the game to appeal to a completely new demographic. I want to talk about why Zombies today is so unrecognizable, why it seems like Treyarch has completely lost their minds when it comes to the decisions made about Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and why Call of Duty 2024 will be the last chance for Zombies to return to its former glory. But to understand all that, I first have to set the scene and explain the magic behind this game and what made it so beloved for over a decade and a half. The year is 2007. Call of Duty 4 had just released and Treyarch was now on the clock to develop what would become Call of Duty World at War. During the development cycle, a few devs noticed that the run cycle animation for when an enemy caught on fire from a flamethrower looked a lot like a zombie flailing its arms from a classic zombie movie. With no funding or support and using other assets in the game, a handful of devs used their lunch breaks at work to throw together a bare-bones round-based horde mode, where the player can defend a room from zombies trying to break in. People in Treyarch's office couldn't help but pop their head in not only to see the progress, but to offer their talents. Members from the sound department offered to throw in zombie noises. Members from the character modeling team said they could do a zombie hit or two. As talk grew, Activision caught wind of this passion project and was not happy. Even if the budget and scheduling wasn't a massive issue, Call of Duty up till now had projected a very serious tone in its depiction of war. And with World at War, Treyarch was planning on taking the game to darker places than it had ever been before. So Call of Duty didn't immediately seem like the right fit for what they had built. There was just one problem. The game was fun. Really fun. It got shown to the director of World at War at the time, and he was like, "It's great and I can't put it down, but how the hell are we going to... Surely we surely can't do this." And so we had to bring Activision executives over one at a time and just say, sit down, have a play. Don't get worried, the game's doing great, but just have a look at this thing. When email chains from Activision executives started popping up bragging about how far they made it and what round they got to, the team knew this mode had to be in the game one way or another. Treyarch and Activision reached an agreement that the mode can be added as long as they don't talk about it or promote it in any way, and lock it behind the campaign for those who completed the entire thing. Funnily enough, the very game of Nazi zombies itself started off as an Easter egg, something that would become integral to the game's DNA in later years. News of this bonus mode hidden behind World at War's campaign caught fire. We didn't have as much social media exposure as we do these days, but we still heard it loud, which means it was really loud. So we patched the game so that everyone had access to it, and then it just took off. It took off in a way that was incredible. Fans became obsessed with not only the gameplay loop, but they became obsessed with the story. A story that didn't exist yet, as they barely barely had enough time to scrape the gameplay together. Fans were quick to fill in the gaps, speculating on anything that could possibly hint to a greater story. Treyarch used World at War's DLC content to expand on the zombie story by hiding radios and other Easter eggs around the map that allowed fans the opportunity to piece together the story for themselves. World at War also expanded on the depth of the gameplay by adding 2 iconic mechanics in Perca-Colas and Pack-a-Punch. Black Ops 1 pushed the evolution of zombies further by hiding elaborate quests that the players can do to learn about the map's lore and its place in the entire zombie story. These quests grew more elaborate with each installment, like working as a team of actors to save our crew from being trapped in an abandoned Siberian outpost, and then traveling back in time to save a pair of explorers trapped in a cave, and then nuking the planet. Like blowing it up. Like it's gone. It's clear now that zombies had evolved far past anything the devs had ever dreamed of back when it was a secret side project. Black Ops 2 continued to innovate on the game with buildable items to better assist you in game, like the zombie shield. This game is sort of an anomaly in the legacy of zombies because it hosts 2 of the worst maps in zombies history back to back, but then immediately follows it up by beginning the best run of zombies content we've ever had. Mob is a classic. Buried is really good. Origins, Shadows of Evil, and Der Eisendrache are widely considered the 3 greatest maps ever created, all released back to back to back. Zetsubo was really solid. Gorod was amazing. Revelations was great. And all of that is capped off with Zombie Chronicles, bringing a large number of classic maps remastered to the best zombies platform, which is Black Ops 3. It is the greatest piece of zombies content ever released, a love letter to the fans. So successful that it was the #1 selling DLC on the PlayStation Store for all of 2017. It's at this point Zombies is at the highest point it's ever been. Although Revelation's ending to the story was disappointing to some, the community was still incredibly active thanks to Chronicles and Black Ops 3's mod tools, allowing for custom maps to be made and distributed by the community. Zombies has been a goldmine for Call of Duty, and has made a huge cultural footstep in the entire gaming landscape. There's simply no way Treyarch or Activision could mess this up. No way that this column of Call of Duty could fall. No way that this Titanic ship could sink. Black Ops 4 was the first major misstep in Zombies history. With Black Ops 4 Zombies came not only a new story, but a complete overhaul to the entire game mode. They changed the point system, the perk system, the actual perks themselves, the health system, and the gobblegum system, just to name a few. They got rid of classic, fan-favorite perks like Juggernog. To really emphasize how insane this is, the main item featured in the collector's edition of Black Ops 3 that costed $200 was a working Juggernog mini fridge modeled after the machine in-game. Here in Black Ops 3, gone in Black Ops 4. Not only that, but the DLC maps would see our original heroes brought back in an attempt to right the wrongs of Revelation's ending, leading to even more confusion in the zombie community about the direction Zombies was headed in. Black Ops 4 was not terrible and had some redeeming maps, but ultimately ended with another divisive ending to the original story and left the future of COD Zombies more uncertain than it ever was before. With the announcement of Call of Duty Cold War came the announcement of a reboot to the entire Zombies game mode. With the announcement came a promise of a return to form in the gameplay loop, an expanded Nocturne Toten as our first map, and of course, an emphasis on Juggernog. That first trailer is basically saying, yeah, we know, we messed up, but we're back. Cold War also introduced some much welcomed innovation to the game, like the ability to pause when in a party, and the ability to exfil for some bonus XP. The announcement was an assurance to the Zombies community that they were being heard, and that the conversation between the devs and the community that built this game in the first place was not finished. Cold War breathed new life into the game, and while it was a success, the red flags for the future were already beginning to appear. Many of the Easter eggs were much easier and didn't really pose that much of a challenge. Many mechanics from the Warzone Battle Royale game mode, such as armor plates, minimap, and weapon rarities, were all new inclusions into Cold War Zombies. Treyarch even went as far as to introduce Outbreak, a hybrid open-world, objective-based zombies mode that was supposed to introduce the Warzone crowd to zombies. The problem isn't that armor plates and weapon rarities and Outbreak were negatives by themselves, but it did show the direction in which the devs were going to take the game next. Call of Duty Vanguard was set to launch the year after Cold War, and Treyarch was announced to be working on the Zombies mode in collaboration with Sledgehammer. Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer Games have had their opportunities to make a mode that competes with Treyarch Zombies, but have found it to be quite the tall task. So with Treyarch's assistance, Vanguard Zombies at the very least should be similar to Cold War, the game that precedes it. It wasn't. Outbreak back from Cold War turned out to be a smash hit. So much so that it was more popular than the traditional maps that were being released at the time. Vanguard was looking to build off the success of Outbreak and guide their zombies mode in a more streamlined, objective-oriented game mode. Vanguard Zombies had what some consider to be the worst launch to a Call of Duty Zombies mode in history. So much so that Treyarch had to make an announcement in the middle of Vanguard's life cycle that they would be remaking the entire Zombies game mode from the ground up. This would take some time and delay their future content drops because Treyarch would need to make, and I repeat, from the ground up, core mechanics like round-based wave spawning, door buys, and wall buys. How we could get to a point where Treyarch Zombies doesn't even have these fundamental core features that were core mechanics before even Perca-Colas were added is beyond my comprehension. They ended up adding round-based zombies to an iconic map to a player base that had already disappeared. It was too late to save Vanguard Zombies. Which brings us to the current day. As more and more information releases about Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, it doesn't seem like the lesson learned in Vanguard will carry over between games, as it looks like Zombies will take the biggest leap away from its core DNA we have seen so far. Expanding again on the success of Outbreak, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies will feature up to 24 players working together to complete missions and extract, all taking place on the brand new Warzone map, while matches are also limited to 60 minutes a time, and they will not be round-based. These changes are a spit in the face and go directly against multiple sub-communities nested within the Zombies community, filled with the superfans that would pour hundreds of hours into these maps trying to optimize them. The 60-minute timer goes directly against the high round community and their attempt to push these maps to their absolute limit. And streamlined quests go directly against the Easter egg community, who want to uncover these secrets organically through a community effort. So what is really happening? How did we stray so far from what made this game special in the first place? The bragging rights that came with making it to a higher round on the leaderboards. The community scavenger hunt at the beginning of a new map drop, where we would discover the Easter egg ourselves rather than it be spelled out for us from the beginning. The unique playable characters that allowed the player to grow attached and to care for the story more so than these exchangeable operators. And the conversation between developers and community that felt like we were being listened to. I think there's a few reasons for why we are where we are. Ever since the success of Warzone, we've seen further and further cannibalization to the uniqueness of Call of Duty's titles. People like to joke that Call of Duty was just the same game every year, but a 3-developer cycle gave the games their own pace and identity. And now it just feels like Activision is forcing these things like operator skins to be in other game modes, like Zombies, just in order to sell more skins in the shop. But they're destroying the Zombies' identity by getting rid of playable characters. Call of Duty is a complete mess right now. They began this year by saying that there would be a 2-year dev cycle, meaning no Call of Duty would be released in 2023, and then they changed their minds halfway through and said that there would be a Call of Duty in 2023, but it would be like more of a major content update rather than a committed standalone game. And then they changed their mind again and said that it was going to be a standalone game and that it was going to be called Modern Warfare 3. And this Modern Warfare 3 is populated entirely with remastered Modern Warfare 2 maps? And does this now mean that we will never get an authentic remaster of Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer? Call of Duty at the moment just seems absolutely directionless. It feels like we went all in on Warzone 2.0, and since that flopped, they are flailing and clinging to nostalgia while trying to find their footing again. And they are taking Zombies down with them. But to be honest, we shouldn't look at Modern Warfare 3 Zombies with complete hopelessness, because it's been speculated that Treyarch is pouring all of their resources, even going as far as to hire more developers, to help work on Call of Duty 2024 Zombies mode. And it would only make sense because Treyarch is the lead developer behind that Call of Duty. I do believe we will get a more fleshed out Zombies mode that is closer to the Black Ops Cold War formula in 2024. But at this point, between the missteps in Black Ops 4 and Vanguard, I'm not sure if Treyarch would return to the formula that made Zombies special in the first place. And even if they did, would it be too late? Plenty of members of the Zombies community, including lifelong fans and major content creators, are rapidly losing interest with Zombies as a whole, and some are reportedly leaving the game behind for good. Zombies is basically at a point where it feels like it really only has one more chance. Call of Duty 2024 will be a prove-it year for Treyarch Zombies. I'm not saying they need to make a carbon copy of Black Ops 3, but Zombies must recognize and return to what made it special in the first place. challenging, round-based gameplay, dedicated playable characters with personality and story implication, and real Easter egg quests that foster community conversation and collaboration rather than being handheld through these steps. All I hope for is that Treyarch recognizes the urgency of the situation, realizes that classic Call of Duty Zombies as we know it is on life support, and treats the game with the passion and care that an iconic game like itself deserves. 2024 is the last hope for Call of Duty Zombies.